Hi, Carl here for ProAV TV, and I'm here at the C-Motion booth at IBC 2016, talking to Oliver from CineFade. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
So what is CineFade?
So CineFade allows you to vary depth of field in a motion picture shot at constant exposure.
Okay.
So effectively what you can do is to vary the sharpness of the background. You can go from a shallow depth of field to a deep depth of field, or vice versa. And you can go, gradually go from a sharp background to a blurry background.
With nothing else changing in the image?
Yep, with the foreground staying in focus and the exposure staying constant.
That's amazing. And how do you achieve that?
Very simple. So I am varying the iris.
Okay, so that affects your depth of field?
Exactly, to affect depth of field, and I am counteracting the exposure change, which naturally occurs with a variable ND filter.
Okay, that's really interesting. So these are, what are these? These are C-Motion drives?
Yeah, so these are ARRI motors. They work with C-Motion motors as well.
Right.
The filter tray in here is custom made. It holds the motor on the filter tray itself and allows you to rotate the polarizing filter through 90 degrees.
So there's two polarizing filters in the front, one of which you're rotating with the drive?
Yep, correct. So that's your variable ND filter. Okay. And C-Motion have written the software for me, which basically slaves the two motors together. So whenever I open or close the iris, the exposure stays constant and only depth of field is affected.
Okay, so this is the C-Motion hand unit.
Yep.
Talk me through how CineFade works on this.
Basically, first of all, you've got control over exposure on your iris slider. So you would set your iris, you would set your exposure as you normally would, say at T5.6. And once you're happy with your exposure, you hit the green button, which activates the CineFade mode. And from that point onwards, the two motors are slave to each other, and you're no longer affecting exposure on the slider, but you're affecting the depth of field.
Okay, that's really cool.
Yeah, and then if your light conditions change, for example, if the sun comes up, you hit the button again to affect your exposure, find your new exposure. When you're happy, hit the button again to go back to depth of field. Okay,
so how can people get their hands on this?
This is a rental-only item at the moment. In London, you can get it directly through me, through CineFade, and a unit will be available in LA in a few months as well.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.